So look, if you're coming in late, we're talking about epigenetics and how you can use them to improve your diet, your health, and your fitness. I'm going to be sharing with you my epigenetic results that Dr. Daniel Stickler gave to me. And if you want to figure out your own epigenetics, then you can go to londonreal.tv/health. This is something I find so important to our future that I decided to really partner up with Dr. Stickler and offer this service to other London Realers. And again, he's an expert and he can show you what your genetics tell you about how you can express those genes for optimum health, what you should do with your diet, your sleep, and your fitness. And I'll talk about my results right at the end of this broadcast. So let's talk about what I was doing last year. And that was interesting because I decided to see if I could push myself. And this is before I got the epigenetics information, which is interesting because I found out later that actually this was something that was in my epigenetics that I could express that I didn't even know. Because as I told Dr. Stickler in the interview, I used to be the science geek. I was the guy that got beat up in physical education class, right? I mean, you know, in dodgeball, everybody threw the ball at me. Like, it's true, right? I was like the guy playing chess in the corner. True story. I was the guy in the science lab. True story. So I just assumed I was never athletic or had no predisposition to that, but it turns out my genetics and my epigenetics say that's not true. So this is me, and again, if you're coming here, type in and tell me how are you improving your diet, your health, and your fitness. Are you planning on doing something like this next year or going on a vegan diet, or do you enjoy hand balancing and stretching? But this is me going further into my diet and health and fitness journey. Last year, John Joseph challenged me to an Ironman 70.3 race. I had 90 days to prepare, and he said you have to do it on a plant-based diet. Again, it's all in my movie Iron Mind. And I accepted, of course. You know, it's hard to say no to John Joseph. He's a hard-talking New Yorker. And it was an amazing adventure. I was really grateful to him and Samantha Murphy, my coach. And I did things I had never done before. I had never cycled distance. I had never swam distance. I had never run distance. I had never gone on a 100% plant-based diet. This is vegan nachos that Mariana made. Amazing vegan sour cream, black beans, all this stuff. It was absolutely amazing. And for me, it was all working on new postures, new flexibilities, and I'm constantly working on my hand balancing and all of that stuff. So this is just another way that you can push yourself and stress your body. And this is something I learned from Ido Portal, who's one of my favorite guests on London Real at all time. We made a documentary film with him called Just Move. Again, you can watch that on our website or on YouTube for free. And Ido is a master, and he taught me to stress my body constantly. And he said, pain doesn't hurt. That's what he taught me, one of the few things he taught me. And when you feel pain, when we push our joints in certain ways, the initial response is to say, no, don't do that because it hurts. But if you push through that pain, you can really calcify those joints and you can push yourself to the next level. And that's what I learned when I first breakdanced. My wrists were hurting and my fingers were hurting by supporting myself on the floor. But after about 6 weeks of going into that pain, my body evolved. And the same was true with Ironman. You know, at first, I couldn't even run a half marathon. I couldn't cycle, 90 kilometers. I couldn't swim 2 kilometers. But over time, I found I could actually do that. And I could do more, and it was amazing. I didn't think I could survive on a plant-based diet. The first month, I was a mess. I was like calorie deficit. My gut was a mess, but it turns out I went a whole year on a plant-based diet, and it was amazing. I'm no longer plant-based, but I still eat a lot of plants, and I'm a big fan. So this is a way of stressing your body. And here's a clip from Ido Portal talking about the importance of constantly pushing yourself and stressing the body.
Nobody teaches his child how to walk. That's not true. That's not honest. You learned how to walk. It can only be learned and figured out. And that's the beauty of the struggle, the Sisyphus approach. The struggle pushing that rock up the mountain is enough to fill our hearts. That's the nature of being alive, evolving, increasing awareness, enjoying this reality that nobody fucking knows what it is. So I think it's a good thing that we have to struggle. And once we eliminate the struggle, great emptiness hits. And it happens on a micro level for us all the time, reaching goals. Yeah. It's a very emptying moment, which brings us to another very important thing. Success is not a good orientation. It's a filthy word. It's a nauseating word. I hear it a lot. Success. How did you become successful? How to succeed? That's a wrong orientation. The orientation should be to learn something about this body, this mind, the nature of our awareness through those tools. But it does not mean you don't do them very intensely. So I practice like a madman. but with complete detachment of the result. In the end of the day, it's about being a craftsman and not being the success story. Sit down and do your fucking work.
And as Ido says, a lot of times pain is an indication that you can go further. And different types of pain feel differently. Although I think a lot of times we just see pain and we say stop. But you know, there's a pain where you know you're about to break your joint, and there's a pain where it's like, that kind of hurts. Same with muscle pain, same with cardio pain, same with all of that stuff. So the idea is to know when you can push through. And people like Ido Portal and David Goggins are ones to show us that we can always push through more. Of course, David Goggins saying most people quit at 40%. There's so much left in the tank, and that's when you can learn about yourself. Your body literally will transform, and your brain will transform and adapt to this new reality that your body can do incredible things. Big fan of pushing that and pushing the limit, so it's great. I want to go to some of these comments. They're absolutely amazing. Please keep them coming. Again, if you're coming late today, tell me how can you right now, or how are you improving your diet, your health, and your fitness, because I want to know. We got Kunal saying a vegetarian diet and yoga. Great stuff. I love it. HGC says positive affirmation, dancing, outdoor, natural herbs to sleep. I love it. Jag says CBD flower and diet. I love it. I've been playing with CBD. We're big fans of the CBD business here. We had Tika Tiwari talking about CBD. I've been rubbing it on my feet every night. I've been sleeping amazing, so that's great. Lorena does yoga, lots of greens, and keto. Thelma, I love this answer, Thelma. Ketogenic diet and belly dancing. I mean, is there anything else you need in life? Of course you don't. I would love to learn how to belly dance, actually. Mariana can do it a little bit, so it looks like a lot of fun. We also have Chris Rosamondo says, I'm on day 85 of a 100-day juice fast. I've been vegan for 16 to 17 years, cycling, skating, swimming, all body weight training. I love it, Chris. That's amazing. We had Joe Cross on the show many years ago, who's got a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, who went on a 100% juicing diet, and it changed his life. He did a documentary about it. It was absolutely amazing. So great stuff. And we got Vlad, stop eating food for 7 days, just drinking loads of water. Look, a good water fast is important. Elliot Hulse, a guest on London Real multiple times, is big into fasting, and it's something I'm going to explore in the future. So I love this stuff, really good feedback. And look, I want to go and talk about some other aspects of your health, and not just your diet, but there's a lot of things. And this is me with Dorian Yates on the beaches of Marbella in Spain, doing a yoga practice. And this is from our documentary film with Dorian Yates called Inside the Shadow. You can watch that on YouTube and on our website as well. It's been watched by millions of people. And this is Dorian taking me through my yoga practice. I learned a lot from yoga. I did yoga for about a year. It was really good. Yoga is a great way to take the mind and the body and bring them together. It's like meditation, but to a whole nother level. A yoga practice is amazing. Also, Dylan Werner, one of the guests on London Real, is just a master at yoga, and he's a guy that's just really impressive to watch. And it's been a whole part of his spiritual journey, this physical practice. So again, this is an important part of who you are. Also, for me, sleep and meditation is something really crucial. So like I said, Dr. Daniel Stickler says sleep is the single biggest thing, or the simplest thing you can do to optimize your health right now. All of you, if you hacked your sleep routine, would probably feel a 20-30% improvement in your awareness, in your well-being, in everything about yourself, if you could just lock in those 8 hours every night. So really think about ways you can do this. I teach this in our Life Accelerator in the Academy. Optimize your sleep environment, dark out everything, all the electronic devices out of that, how you accept light when it gets late at nights, temperature regulation, tracking your sleep, all of that stuff is really important to sleep. And of course, finally, meditation. Meditation is a big component of my life. I meditate every single morning. Like I said, I had young Pueblo in last week who meditates 2 hours a day. And he said, Brian, whenever I want to know the answer, I meditate. And I said, what are your 5-year goals? And he said, to continue my meditation practice. And I think most of us know the answers inside of us. We really know what we need to do with our lives. We know what our passions are, but we get caught up in this brain that's constantly replying to all these Instagram things and watching all these videos and listening to all this nonsense, and we forget who we really are. So getting in touch with yourself through meditation can be really, really powerful. So it's one of the ways I optimize my health is through spending this quiet time with myself every day, and I'm going to start doing it even more. Twice a day is what my plan to be is. So I'm curious, what are your practices when it comes to yoga and sleep and meditation? How are you using those to optimize your health? I'd love to see that in the comments right now. And again, if you're coming late, we're talking about epigenetics today, which is something that's really interesting because, like I said, the guests on London Real have been talking about this forever. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and this is how you can express the genes you have. So we used to think 20, 30 years ago, Darwin said that, it's our genetic code and that determines who we are. And we got that code from monkeys and all these other crustaceans that we came from, which is great, but it's a bit kind of fatalistic and deterministic. But now we know we can actually find ways to express those genes through our stress levels, through our sleep, through our diet, through our training, through our meditation, through everything. And if you know what you have a propensity to do, you can do more of those things and you can avoid things that you have a propensity to actually harm you in a big way. And so I took my epigenetics test recently, actually a couple months ago, I think about 6 weeks ago. And it's pretty simple. If you've ever done 23andMe, I took this tube and I think I spit in the tube. Actually I took a swab and I scraped the insides of my cheeks. And I put that in there and I shook it up and I posted it off to Dr. Daniel Stickler and all of his experts at Epiron. They ran it for me, and then one of their epigenetics coaches got on the phone and walked me through everything in my epigenetics and how I can use that for my future, for my longevity, and how I can really express those genes better and optimize myself. So, you want to know what the results are? I'm going to tell you, by the way, if you want to do this yourself, you can go to londonreal.tv/health. And you can get one of these kits. They'll send it to you wherever you are in the world. You post it back, and then you'll get on a 1-hour call, and they'll give you the entire breakdown. It's like a 40-page breakdown of your epigenetics, and they'll talk to you about what you can do with your health and your lifestyle and your eating and your sleep and your meditation to express those things properly so you have a brand new car 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and you're not driving around this whole bucket of bolts that's going to treat you really well. So this is what he said about my epigenetics, and you can watch the whole thing on the Stickler episode, which is free, of course, on YouTube and our website as well. So this is what he said. He said, Brian, you have a real problem with saturated fats and you need to avoid those. And I found this really interesting because both my grandpa Benedict and my grandma Benedict, which are my mother's parents, who I was really close with. I was really close with all my grandparents. He was a cattle rancher in Arizona. I could tell you stories about my grandpa. Him and I owned a horse together. He sold me 10% of his horse. He made me work for it, of course, and we were partners together. He used to teach me how to horse trade. I used to go out on the ranch with him, and I was a city boy, and I didn't like picking up pieces of wood and, shoveling cow dung, but he made me do it anyways, and he taught me a lot. But both him and my grandmother died from heart-related issues directly related to their diet and saturated fats. And they didn't know about this stuff, and they didn't know about epigenetics, and they used to eat all sorts of saturated fats. I mean, my grandma would cook eggs in like bacon fat, and she would pour the fat over the eggs, and he was a cattle rancher. We would eat beef every single meal, and they just didn't know any better. And honestly, I think if they would have understood this test, they would have avoided saturated fats, because I think in the Rose and the Benedict family, we're just prone to be really susceptible to this, and then they can literally kill us. So I was told that saturated fats do not work well with me, which is great. I've already been avoiding those for a long time, but now I know for sure to stay away from saturated fats. Dr. Stickler said my VO2 max, I have a genetic and epigenetic predisposition to have a high VO2 max. So he's like, I'm not surprised that you were able to pick up the Ironman training very fast, which really surprised me. And it did come, and I did it. I did it in 90 days, which doesn't make sense. I mean, I had 90 days to train for this race, and I went in and did my Ironman 70.3 in under 6 hours. And that's because I have a propensity for a high VO2 max, which means I can exert at high levels and intense anaerobic levels and still perform, which is absolutely amazing. The other thing he said is that I actually do well by ingesting complex carbs. And a lot of people don't. Maybe you don't do well with complex carbs. Maybe they store body fat on you. Maybe they don't really work well with your digestion. But he said that's probably why I did well on a vegan diet, because I process complex carbs very well. And again, I found that the vegan diet actually worked for me because I made it through the race. So that makes sense because I can process complex carbs well, and I can use those for energy and not use them just to gain fat. So that was really interesting. Also, he said that I gain muscle quite quickly. So I can put on muscle mass, which again is something I never did as a kid, but it makes sense. When I do actually lift weights, I can actually hold that muscle mass better than a normal person would. And it means as I get older, I can still keep some muscle mass. Now, I don't lift weights anymore like I used to. And I know I had someone earlier who said they ate 280 grams of protein every day. I used to do the same. I used to have 2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body mass. So that was 160 kilograms a day, or grams a day of protein, which was too much. I honestly think that was too much to process. So I don't lift weights anymore. I mean, I do legs and stuff like that, but I do mostly body weight stuff, swimming, hand balancing, dancing. I still do legs because I think you need to keep your legs strong. But it's good for me to know now that I can put on that muscle mass when I need to, and I can probably hold that muscle mass for the rest of my life. So there was a lot more in there in the epigenetics results, but right there, it taught me a lot of things, as means that I can push these things much further than I thought I could. And I'm curious what you could find out about your epigenetics if you actually took the test. What would you find that you should avoid? What would you find that you actually could do? Maybe you could do an Ironman race and you don't even know you could. Maybe you have a propensity to build muscle, but you've never actually bothered trying. Or maybe you need to avoid certain foods or get more sleep, that kind of thing. And so it's been really eye-opening for me. And my goal is to try to get this information to as many London Reelers as possible. And that's why we've teamed up with Dr. Daniel Stickler at Apeiron, and we have this joint effort. So if you go to londonreel.tv/health, you can go ahead and get your test, get your epigenetics test, and then sit down for an hour-long consultation with one of his epigenetics coaches, and this entire massive report that they print out. They literally analyze your DNA down to the details, but then it takes a human that has experience to really take this as a comprehensive piece of information and give you advice. So again, it's based on who you are as a person and what your history has been as well. It's not just one result for one set of DNA. And I find this stuff really, really fascinating.
At London Real, we believe that individual transformation can change the world. Join us and start your journey today.